Welcome everyone back to another special edition of the Dealmakers Club. And today we have a treat, something a little bit unconventional, but for my veteran audience out there, something that is really extremely important, talking about veteran disability claims and just overall support for veterans out there. And I have with us today very law firm representatives that are going to dive into some of the challenges that our veterans are facing right now, their experience. I had the pleasure of meeting Logan West, who's the director of their strategic alliances a few weeks ago at IVMF out in Dallas. For those that don't know, IVMF does a phenomenal job supporting veteran entrepreneurs, and they had their annual Veteran 100 dinner on the backdrop of that those phenomenal 2 days of diving in and helping veteran entrepreneurs scale up in their business. So with us today, Logan West, he grew up in a military household, which shaped his passion for serving the veteran community early on. He went on to serve in the U.S. Air Force, Go Air Force, as an operations intelligence analyst, giving him firsthand experience with the challenges service members face both during and after their time in uniform. After transitioning out, Logan built a career in business development and now focuses on connecting veterans with the resources they need, especially when it comes to navigating VA disability benefits. He also serves on the board of Operation 22, Till Freedom, a nonprofit dedicated to supporting veterans and their families, and is a graduate of the University of Nebraska, Oklahoma. Also today, his counterpart, Montana Crow, she is a veterans disability attorney, and she's an attorney who represents veterans in their fight for disability compensation. Montana's passion for helping others, demonstrated by years of volunteer work, has inspired her to become a champion of veterans who have been denied disability benefits by the Department of Veteran Affairs. She earned her Juris Doctorate from Creighton University School of Law, where she graduated cum laude and received her BS in Public Relations from Iowa State University. While in law school, Montana was recognized for her work with numerous Cali Excellence for the Future Awards, an award given to the highest scoring student in each law school class. As a former policy and government affairs intern, Montana understands the complexities of working with bureaucracies and will advocate zealously for her clients in their struggle against the Department of Veteran Affairs. When she's not defending veterans' rights, Montana enjoys spending time with her nephews, reading, traveling, and taking photos. You can also find her loudly rooting for all Iowa State athletics. Well, welcome. It is a pleasure having both of you on today on this special edition for our Dealmakers Club and sharing with our audience. I always like to kick these off when I have guests, really just sharing something that's not on the bio that our audience would know about you.
Go ahead.
Okay, I guess I'll start. Well, thanks so much for those introductions, Johnny, and thank you so much for having us on your podcast. We're really excited to chat with you and the veterans that are listening today about some of the challenges that they're facing and what we're seeing here at Berry Law while helping them get their disability benefits. I guess something that is not on my bio because it's pretty recent. I had a son 5 months ago, so he has been keeping me on my toes and keeping me very busy.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, hey man, just to echo what Montana said, thanks for having us. Thanks for the platform, and thanks for being an advocate for us. Obviously, I'm going to tell the audience what we talked about before we came on here, and Johnny is actually in the process, in the early stages of filing a claim with Berry Law. We're going to try to help him get over the hump with the 90%, like a lot of people out there. One thing I didn't put, in my introduction is I have a big family. I've got 4 kids. Ages 13 down to 2, and big outdoors guy. I rode my motorcycle into the city today, so that was a little bit of a challenge, but love to be outdoors, love anything with a motor, power sports guy. So.
No, that's awesome. Thank you. You bring up a good point. That was one of the reasons, kind of going through the process and just, going through the onboarding and doing my research. And I'm not one to gatekeep. And, one of the things I did everything that I could with my own personal claim up to a certain point. And I was like, you know what, let me turn this over to professionals. And we had a conversation. I'd done my research and due diligence. And I would say I had quite a few conversations with different firms, different organizations, for profit and for not for profit, which, God bless those guys. They're overtasked, underpaid. I get it. And they do the best they can. But for me, it was like, you know what? I've done as much as I can do without losing my mind. And so, that's one of the things, I moved forward very long. So that was one of the things I was like, hey, I want to let others know about the great job that you guys have been doing. So tell us a little bit about the company, because you got the law firm's been around for a while, and some of the things you're doing for veterans right now.
Yeah, so I mean, our law firm was founded by John Barry Sr. He just recently retired this past November, and he really championed. He's a veteran himself, and he really championed for us helping other veterans. It started out just a small kind of law firm in Lincoln, Nebraska, and word of mouth just grew significantly. His son John Barry is now the CEO and the owner of the law firm, and he has led us through tremendous growth. I have been at the law firm for almost 6 years since I graduated from law school, and since I started to now, we have grown, I would say, close to 400% in clients and staff and attorneys and representation, because there are so many veterans out there who have low ratings, who aren't service connected for anything and aren't getting the full spectrum of what they're entitled to and what they have already earned through their service to our country. And so we are doing what we can to be, boots on the ground, helping them get not only their claim service connected, but we make sure that their evaluations are appropriate for each of their disabilities. We help them get to their 100% permanent and total benefits, and we help them with their effective date to make sure that they are receiving all of the back pay that they are entitled to for VA denying their claims. And Johnny, you said you were at 90%. So, right, seems like you only have a little bit more to go to reach that 100% threshold. But the way the VA rates disabilities, the higher you're rated, the harder it is to get to that next level. And we're only trying to get to 95. Once we hit 95, you're automatically up to 100%. And so you think that you have, a short ways to go, but they do make it difficult to reach that full 100%. So I'm happy that you're going to be working with us and that we can help you achieve those goals.
Yeah, to piggyback on that too, I've only been here for a couple months, but I've been in the veteran space for I've been a veteran for the last 13 years, but I've brought myself back into the veteran space and advocating for veterans for the last 6 years. I did kind of proverbially what a lot of veterans do, right? I got out of the military, I left the military behind, and then kind of got brought back into it by happenstance. Nothing's happenstance, but got brought back in, and then ultimately found myself here. And the goal on my side of the fence, I'm not an attorney, but don't claim to be. That's why Montana's here, because if we get into the weeds about this, she can answer some of those questions. But we've helped 35,000 veterans, over 35,000 veterans. We've awarded $500 million in back pay over the last, 8 years, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, however long it's been. But there's still so many more people to help, right? And we want to do that on a national scale. We've helped veterans in all 50 states, but we want people to know that there's a VA advocate here for you and somebody that's trusted by the VA, right? We're accredited through the Veterans Administration. So I would say that's a big differentiator for us. A lot of people hear law firm when they talk to me and red flags go up. But then I tell them like, hey, we've jumped through these hoops. They don't hand these things out easily, and the VA has accredited us to be able to work on those cases. So right. We want more people to know about that.
Yeah, and we work your appeals through every single stage, right? So from even filing your very first initial claim or coming to us with a denial, we operate at the regional office level, the Board of Veterans Appeals, and then if we have to, we go up to the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, an Article 3 court. And we also just recently got a success, one of our senior attorneys who got a big win at the Federal Circuit Court. So we don't back down easy, and we always put up a fight. And we want you to be able to take a step back and trust us with your claims, with the process, and we'll help you get to whatever threshold you want.
And I think it's important to note too. So last thing, I know you asked one question, you're getting a long answer, but most people don't know what the appeals process even looks like, right? And I'm sure we'll probably get into that, but we can like our attorneys can represent people at every single level of the appeals process, which you don't always get, depending on where you're filing your claim.
Yeah, no, I think that's really great because a lot of times you don't know the process because it's kind of mystified. I know there's been a lot of changes with, for the better and some for the worse, depending on how you look at it, with now bringing more resources to clear out the backlog of claims. But, it's something to really think through, because my dad was a Vietnam veteran and, just seeing him going through the process and the claims process and just the years that it took, before he finally got approval and, and just going through that. So you could have someone from, that's in there, senior citizen or someone just got out, one term commitment. They're out at 23 years, but, they have damage done to their body from their service. And so how's that been? How do you guys kind of support that wide spectrum of veteran needs from the young, airmen just got out of the service, new veteran versus, those that may have been out of the service for 30, 40 years?
Yeah, absolutely, Johnny. And we're seeing too with a lot of those Vietnam veterans, they didn't know that they could file a claim. They didn't know they were entitled to compensation. So they exited the military, with perhaps severe mental and physical trauma to their bodies. And they just went about their lives and they kept having all of these health issues until, decades later, they were like, oh, I can file a claim. So I'm going to file this claim for service connection. And then VA denies and says, well, this disability is caused by your aging, or there's no nexus because you were out of the service, 40 years ago. So as attorneys and the accredited representatives at Berry Law, we help establish those clear nexus elements for getting their claim service connected. We can use medical evidence, lay statements, buddy statements. We help make sure that all of that evidence is on the record and that VA has to consider it in helping get their claims granted. And so we still do have so many Vietnam veterans that come to us that haven't been service connected for anything. And we help them, walk them through the process as well, and represent, again, veterans from all 50 states, all different eras. And we have expertise with each of those different wartime periods and eras and what they're entitled to, any special service connections like presumptive disabilities that we go through to help alleviate any burdens of proof. But I think also with that older generation, there was always that stigma about seeking help, about even mental health disabilities, and that stigma of like, oh, I don't have PTSD, I'm fine, I don't want anybody to call me crazy. And knowing that you need help and help getting those resources for clients as well, and making sure that they're taken care of, first and foremost, and checking in on them and, helping them with those resources as well as helping them get their benefits.
Yeah, I mean, just recently in the 2 months that I've been here, I've seen everyone from, my era of the military to Vietnam to, retired guys that, went through a couple different conflicts that had never filed, 10, 15, 20, 40 years. And now they're like, oh, there is a possibility. Or people, from all generations think, oh, I got a denial. And they think that that's just the end of the road. And right. Part of what we want to do is this education process to say, hey, look, just because you got denied once doesn't mean that we can't get the benefits that you deserve. So we've seen it all walks of life, people that were in for, they got medically discharged in basic training all the way to, I met a guy that was a 29-year EOD guy, so, and everything in between. So you can support them at all.
I think that brings up a really good point with just that disparity in information. Are there some common themes or, for veterans that are listening, some common themes that you all have just seen with your experience that, kind of comes up over and over and over again that veterans maybe look at? And then I would say the second question, are there any kind of misconceptions that are out there that probably need to be put to bed?
Well, I think first and foremost, the biggest issue that we see is just the is navigating the complex bureaucracy of the VA, right? They get denied, and like Logan said, they're not sure that they can appeal, or they get granted a rating and they're like, okay, that's as good as that's as high as I'll get. I guess this is all that I'm given by VA, or even they're given like a small amount of back pay when they filed their claim a couple of years ago. They don't know that they can still continue and challenge not only the VA's decision, but the VA's medical examinations that are given to them prior to VA adjudicating the claim. And that's a big part of it too, is that they go to these exams, and I have clients tell me they spent 5 minutes with me. They didn't ask me any questions. So how are they even able to make these medical determinations about my disability, that I've been experiencing for years and years and years? And they don't know that they can challenge those exams. They can request new ones. They can provide their own independent medical opinion, also conflicting to what the VA stated or what the examiner stated. And so educating veterans and helping them navigate these complex processes are why we're here.
Yeah, I'll just speak to my own, my own challenges through this process. When I got, and I'll tell you a couple different stories. When I got out in 2013, I went to a VSO office, and VSO offices are great. They definitely serve a purpose, but they're like a lot of other government entities, right? They're understaffed, they're overworked. And ultimately they're as good as the person that's sitting behind the desk. If that person cares, you got a great VSO office. If they don't, you may get some answers that you didn't think you were going to get. When I walked out of the military in 2013, I went to the VSO office in the town that I live in. And at that time, the lady behind the desk, I said, hey, I want to get veteran put on my license. And she's like, well, you were in the National Guard and you never deployed. You're not a veteran. That's what she told me. And I was like, okay, well, all right. And I walked out and I never walked back in. Fast forward to 2020 and I got back into this space and started advocating for other people. I met the new folks that took over that office, and the lady that was sitting in there, that's still in there today, was like, Logan, that couldn't be further from the truth. Here's what you need to do. And little did I know, you didn't have to go to a VSO office to get that done. But that's who I looked to, and that was the answer that I got. And in 2019, I filed my own claim. I had some stuff that happened when I was on active duty, and filed a claim, did it myself, went to the doctor, did all the things, and then just 6 months later, they're like, no, you're denied. And in 2019, I didn't know any better. I was like a lot of other people that are sitting out there. Like, oh, okay, well, I got denied. I guess this is it. I'll just keep on going about my life. And now I'm not only am I employed here and a champion for the law firm, but I'm a client of the law firm as well.
Yeah, no, I think that brings up a really good point with just the misconceptions out there, misinformation that's floating around. And, a lot of times you think that people have your best interests at heart, but they don't. And I had a horrible situation where when I was leaving the service, the same thing. Went to the VSO, had the conversation with them, and and I went. Luckily, I kept the appointment that was like over 60 days out with my local VSO that was close to me, outside of the one that I went to in Fort Belvoir to file my initial paperwork. And I shared the paperwork with, and he started asking me all these questions. He's like, dude, you don't have any of this submitted. You didn't provide any additional information. And he just went through. I'm like, how did this guy just screw me over? He was just that lazy that he didn't ask for this information to submit with my claim. And, even with one of my CMP exams, it lasted all of like 10 minutes. I got to ask anything else. I was like, I think that's it. And then we walk out. Before I even step out the door, she's asking the receptionist, like, so what are we going to get for lunch? I'm like, really? I'm like, damn. And, so it's like you give people the benefit of the doubt. But unfortunately, those situations happen way too often with our veterans. And I think, that's why you guys are necessary, is just to kind of help go through, because if not, you'll just take that as the gospel and like, hey, I tried, that was it, and let it be done and kind of move on. But, that's not the right approach. And I think it's great having advocates like you guys here, and as well as other law firms out there and other organizations that are dedicated to helping veterans get the resources that they need and that they earn.
Yeah. For sure. And it happens all too often. I think that's a good thing about I mean, a law firm in general, but specifically with us, is we're going to push back on that stuff. The attorneys are going to push back on that. We have non-attorney, case managers that help push back on that. And a lot of those folks, that's one thing we haven't talked about. A lot of the people that work here, 25, 30%, are veterans themselves, and they're the ones that are championing this stuff. So not only have they gone through it, but now they're working on your case, and they know where the woes are within the system, and they can overcome those things.
They can also help break it down and, explain it to our clients and explain what we're going to do, what the next steps are, what the legal strategy is, to help them, walk it through it so they don't feel so overwhelmed by all of the paperwork that VA is sending that they don't even understand what it means. And sometimes they send duplicate information saying, we need this form. And, our clients are saying, we already submitted this form. And that just comes down to VA, just trying to overwhelm and intimidate almost the veterans filing their claims and trying to get their claims granted.
So walk us through the process. So how does it look when one working with you guys? I know I'm kind of early on in the process, but can you walk the audience through what it's like working with the law firm? Maybe, contrast that with maybe an organization that isn't approved by the VA.
Yeah, for sure. So at Berry Law, we're structured very uniquely, and we're structured very similarly to military because, again, John Berry, our CEO, Army Ranger, he runs the law firm like the military. And that's why we love hiring veterans, and we love having them in our space and, collaborate in our law firm. So we have a commander of the VA section, Jerusha, who oversees the entire VA practice. Under her, we are structured into platoons, 5 different platoons. I run one of those platoons. And so within my platoon, we've got senior attorneys, intermediate attorneys, beginner attorneys. We have accredited case managers. We have veteran staff. We have legal assistants, people communicating about the phases and the steps that they're in. So we have a whole firepower team of staff and attorneys working on your case. They're structured even further than that into different squads based on the type of an appeal that we're working on to make sure that each and every client receives the individual focus on every single one of their claims. We make sure that all of the evidence that we need to believe to get your claim successfully granted is in the file. And if it's not, we're requesting statements, we're requesting medical records, we're reaching out to clients saying, tell me about this claim. Why do you think it's related to service? And then based on what they say, we, use our legal firepower and, make sure everything is raised in the appeals, and we submit that to VA. And you know what? Sometimes, and a lot of times, VA comes back and denies the claim, and the clients panic, and we say that's okay. That can be part of the process. Guess what? This rating decision didn't even address any of the evidence that we submitted. They didn't address the legal arguments we submitted. We can still appeal. And so no matter how many times VA denies, we can always continue to appeal. And we make sure we go to the necessary levels to get the attention that those claims deserve.
Yeah, no, I think that's very important to kind of understand how you guys are structured because, like you said, you guys have helped over 35,000 veterans. It's like, okay, how's the organization structured? Am I just a number? It's like how you guys are set up. You're set up as a well-oiled machine. And I think loving how you guys have it laid out. And really the organization is set up in a way to meet clients where they're at and having a team with the expertise that can focus on their claim based off of the merit of the case and the merit of their file or where they are, and making sure that they don't just have a generalist that's just working every type of claim, but really having someone that's really has their best interest and has the expertise that can champion the claim on their behalf.
Absolutely. And, the attorneys set the strategy. They're knee deep in the legal work. And then so we have some of those other veteran staff members that are able to then communicate to the client saying, here's what's being done on your case. Here's what's submitted with VA. We'll let you know when a decision has been issued. And if it's a negative decision, we can absolutely appeal that. And we always do. We don't back down.
Yeah. I mean, the education and communication is a big thing, right? I I don't know how many different veteran pages I'm a part of with thousands, if not tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of veterans. And a lot of times people are like, oh, I filed my claim with a law firm or with the VSO or with the American Legion, whoever, the DAV, and it just got denied. And if you don't know that we're going to overturn or appeal the denials, then you get discouraged, right? So the communication and the education piece from us is really important in that process so that people have the will to keep going with it, right? We don't want people to pull their claims out because they got discouraged because they didn't know what was going to happen.
For sure.
So education is a big piece of what we do.
No, I think that's extremely well said, because I think that's one of the big things. They're just the misinformation or just not knowing, and the bureaucracy and the process. It's a beast. It's a beast, and if you don't know how to navigate it, you can really be discouraged extremely fast. One thing, talk a little bit about, as we kind of wrap up the conversation on just the cost to work with you guys and the cost for veterans, because that's one where I've seen the full gauntlet as I've been doing my research from, as little as, $997 to start, a couple $1,000s, as much as $7,000 up front to start to have support come in to help me with my claim. So talk a bit about Barry Law and how you guys are structured right now for the cost of the service.
So the cost of the service, we follow all federal regulations on that. And we have different contracts based on each veteran's circumstances. And we only are entitled to fees if we win. They're only on a rolling basis, and they're only a percentage of the back pay that's awarded. So we don't touch anything from your monthly payments from VA going forward. Once we get you to that 100% threshold or even a lower threshold, we don't touch anything out of your monthly contributions, and we are only paid if we win, and only a portion of the back pay. There's a lot of other things we do, like file initial claims and file new claims for veterans. If those get granted, we aren't entitled to any of those fees. Again, we follow all federal regulations on what the VA allows attorneys and accredited case managers to receive.
Yeah, no, I think that's extremely important, because unfortunately, you have some different players that aren't holding the veterans' best interests at heart. And I think a lot of times that if you don't know and you hear somebody just come on and say, hey, yep, we can get your claim done and all this and pay me $5,000 up front. And and a lot of times, unfortunately, it doesn't end up going well for the veteran. And so I think that's always a big part of, for me, with making my decision. You guys were transparent up front on where everything landed. I had my consultation call. The contract was right there. Everything that you guys laid out and said, just like you said it. And and so I just encourage, for those that are, maybe not where they think they should be, or maybe you just want a consultation and see, hey, what is out there? Or do you deserve more from where you are right now from a percentage standpoint? I think it's worth having a conversation and having that review done. For those that may be looking for help, what's the best way for them to connect with Barry Law if they want to get some more information, or maybe even set up a consultation to kind of go to the next step with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. And we provide free consultations. So don't hesitate to reach out. You can contact Logan or I by email. Yeah. Will probably be the quickest way that you can reach one of us, and we can ensure that you are taken care of with our intake team, and they'll review your file, get some necessary documents from VA, so we can look in your file and see how we can help you with your claims.
Yeah, there's two things that you said. Number one, people can email me, and I'm more than happy to give my email public. It's logan.west@barrylaw.com. I'll also send you a QR code, Johnny, a website, and a phone number, so people can kind of do it however they want.
Okay.
Call them, they can. Back to what you were talking about, the folks that are out there. Anybody can go to ChatGPT and figure out how to file a claim, right? Like, anybody can do that, and then they can say, oh, we'll represent you. You pay us $5,000. I'll tell you what to do. The big difference, and I think where the VA accreditation comes into the law firm, is we have access to the VA systems. We can get in there. We can look at the stuff. So we can help at a much lower level.
Okay.
Just giving you what you need to do and telling you where to go file it. Like, we're involved at a much lower level than that. So I would tell the audience, or I would tell anybody that's looking at filing a VA claim, really figure out what that $5,000 is worth before you pay it, and find out what kind of service you're actually going to get, or if you're paying a retainer, you should probably question it. Yeah.
The veteran disability space.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll send you all those things to you, and you can link them to this, and we'll go from there.
No, that's awesome. I definitely appreciate that. And, definitely welcome the conversation. We're getting the word out there and just helping more veterans realize the resources they have at their disposal to get the resources that are dedicated and set aside for them. They just don't know it. And so I think this conversation is one of many to continue to have in the future. And are there any other things you guys want to bring up? Any other resources to go up? I definitely check out the website. It's barrylaw.com, right?
Yep. Or is it ptsdlawyers.com?
Oh,
okay.
Change it. We'll send you the link. We'll send you our email addresses. Feel free to reach out to one or both of us, and we're happy to
LinkedIn's
help
another
you.
great way.
Yeah.
You can connect with me. I respond to LinkedIn pretty quickly. So
Same. We're happy to help you. We're happy to help get you the benefits that you deserve. And Barry Law has a lot of firepower to it, and we will not back down.
yeah, we're here to stay. It's only going to grow from here.
Absolutely.
No, I love it. I love it.
Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I'm really, like I was saying, I don't like the gatekeeping. I think this is really good and letting you guys get the word out here and helping other veterans. So it's been a pleasure and honor having you guys here on the Dealmakers Club. And looking for opportunities to connect in the future. And for you guys listening, definitely connect. If you're one of our veterans that listen, would love for you to get connected with Barry Law Firm. Just check them out. We got the information down below in the show notes. And however, I can be a resource, definitely reach out. Would love to connect with you guys. And that is a wrap for this week with a special edition with Barry Law and helping our veterans get the resources they deserve and need and getting those claims pushed through and getting the information they need. So we will see you guys on the next episode. Let's go.